What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so I kind of want to dive back into the original Ultimate Marvel universe. And the reason why, because when we did our original coverage over that universe, there were some books we had actually skipped over. So for example, we had skipped over Ultimate Hulk Annual number 1. And I kind of want to dive back into the universe and cover some of the books that we had actually skipped, like Ultimate Hulk Annual number 1. Now when it comes to this book alone, it's actually the Hulk fighting against Zarda. Now remember, Zarda does not come from the Ultimate Marvel universe. You see, in the early 2000s, Marvel had launched a lot of different things hoping to bring back the fans that they had lost in the 1990s. So for example, you had Ultimate Marvel, Marvel Knights, and you also had Marvel Max. Now, when it came to Marvel Max, it was a way for Marvel to push the boundaries when it came to different things you would see in comic books. So, for example, people who are naked in your books. You had a lot of that happening in Marvel Max. And so you had all these different books coming out in that line of comics. But one of the books that came really popular was Squadron Supreme. Now, when it came to the Squadron Supreme, they had been around for a very long time in Marvel Comics. Now, when it came to the Squadron Supreme, it was a way for Marvel to have the Justice League in their books without actually using those characters. So, for example, if you saw Hyperion, well, he was representing Superman in Marvel Comics. If you saw Nighthawk, that was their Batman. You saw Blur, that was their Flash. If you saw Zarda, that was their Wonder Woman. And the list goes on. Now, when it came to the Squadron Supreme, we have seen different versions of the team over the years in Marvel Comics. And each version came from a different reality. But in the early 2000s, when it came to Marvel Max, they had launched a brand new version of the Squadron Supreme in a different reality. Now, for me personally, when it came to Marvel Max and the Squadron Supreme, I felt like it was Marvel saying, you know what? What would happen if we were able to write about the Justice League in our own comics, but put those characters in a world that was very realistic? Like, what would happen if those kind of heroes appeared in the real world? And for me personally, it was a great idea, because if you read all those books up to a certain point, it really felt like those things would really happen if those heroes had appeared in the real world. Now, we had actually covered all the stories that came from that reality of the Squadron Supreme. Now, the reason why I'm bringing them up right now because of Zarda. You see, there was a crossover known as Ultimate Power. Now, Ultimate Power was a way to see the heroes of the Ultimate Marvel Universe fight against the heroes of the Squadron Supreme from the Marvel Max comics. Now, the reason why you have both parties going against each other was because of Nick Fury, Doctor Doom, and another character known as Emil Burbank. Now, Emil comes from the Squadron Supreme universe. Now, I'm not going to really dive into Ultimate Power here in this video because one, we already covered it, and two, I need like an extra 10 minutes to kind of sit down and explain everything that happened in Ultimate Power. Just know by the end of that book, you had Nick Fury stay in the Squadron Supreme universe to pay for the crimes that he had committed. But Zarda, she has stayed in the Ultimate universe to make sure that our heroes over there were not up to anything else that could most likely hurt her reality. And so technically, she's now part of the Ultimates. And so as we dive into Ultimate Hulk Annual number 1, we do pick up with Zarda fighting against the Wrecking Crew. Now, the Wrecking Crew is, man, okay guys, let me explain the weird thing about this group right here. You see, they first appeared in Ultimate Spider-Man number 86. In that book right there, they were working for Damage Control, a company that would go out of their way to fix up buildings or different areas that were involved in a superhero battle. Again, that was back in Ultimate Spider-Man number 86. By this point in Ultimate Marvel, they no longer work for that company. Instead, they were able to become super soldiers. But we're not told how in the world they were able to become super soldiers. But right now, they're fighting against Zarda because now they're bad guys. Now, she is able to take them down very easily. But in her reality, once you're able to take down your opponent, you kill them. And so right now, she wants to go ahead and kill off the wrecking crew. But then she's stopped by Steve Rogers. Now, for me personally, I feel like when it comes to Zarda, she should be able to take him down very easily. And the reason why, because she was the Wonder Woman on her team when it came to the Squadron Supreme. And on top of that, she went almost toe-to-toe with Hyperion, who is again the Superman on that team as well. And so for me personally, I feel like she should be able to take down Steve Rogers and go ahead and kill off the wrecking crew. But instead, she decides to listen to him. And he says, listen, in our reality, we don't kill off the bad guys like that. Like, no, we are not like them. Our goal is to hopefully change them, but to also show that we're not killers. And so for Steve Rogers, he said, you know what? I need you to go ahead and travel around the world. Really our country, because I feel like if you do that, you'll then have a better understanding of how things work in this reality when it comes to our culture. And so you have Zarda begin to travel across the country. And so you have Zarda travel across the country. Now, while doing that, she does stop at a diner. And of course, when she is trying to order some food, that is when the Hulk arrives. Now, when he arrives, he demands to have some waffles, some pancakes, like this man is hungry. But the owner of the place says, no, we cannot serve you. And the reason why? You're not wearing pants. AKA, this man is completely naked in the middle of the restaurant. Now, for the Hulk, he hates the idea of being told no when he wants something. And so Zarda has to step in. Now, before she does step in, she does tell us that she understands what the Hulk is going through. You see, when it came to Zarda, back in her reality, she also hated the idea of wearing clothes. Now, when it came to Zarda, we don't know her actual origin story. It was never truly told to us. But when it came to Zarda, when she was around at first, it was a time period where clothes were not being forced on people. And so she had the ability to walk around naked. But then later on in time, when she came back to life, where you had Hyperion, Nighthawk, and Blur, she realized that humans must wear clothes in public. And so for Zarda, she's saying, if I'm able to sit down and realize that things have changed, that time has changed, then the Hulk can do it as well. And so her goal is to teach him a lesson like, hey, you may get your waffles and pancakes, but they're telling you to get that, you have to wear pants. You have to understand how things work. You have to adapt. But again, the Hulk hates the idea of being told no. And so it does lead into a battle between the Hulk and Zarda. Now, at first, it's really more of Zarda being able to beat down on the Hulk. Now, the Hulk is able to get a few blows in, and really, one of his blows tells Zarda that there is somebody in this reality who could do damage to her, and that would be the Hulk. But she also realized that if the battle does continue on, innocent people are going to get hurt. And so she is able to take him down once again. Now, once she does that, she wants to kill off the Hulk, but she remembers that Steve told her, hey, we don't kill in this reality. But on top of that, he told her, I want you to travel across the country, but you are not allowed to kill anybody at all. And so this is her saying, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and keep my promise and not kill off the Hulk. Instead, I'm going to help him out. And so the book does wrap up very quickly, where you have Zarda take the Hulk to a nearby store so that he is able to get some pants. And then they go back to the diner to have those waffles and pancakes and any other kind of meal that diner is trying to give them. Now, this book does end on one heck of a crazy note. Let me explain. So after a while, you have Zarda say, you know what, Hulk? I love our battle. It really shows that there's somebody out there who could actually give me a challenge. But I have a question for you. Is there something else you want to do to me? Which means, hey Hulk, you and I should get a motel somewhere and we should get our freak on because you know what? I like you and I know you like me. And the book ends on that note right there, where the Hulk is able to get in bed with Zarda. So yeah, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.